Sikha we will be learning is in the Siches Chilek Chafalev, the Sikha for Purim. The Rebbe says it's by the Zelt Medrash, it's told in the Medrash, as noch dem wir seine Nächten geworden, Homas Igris mit der Gzeira Fiden, that after the letters of Haman, the Gzeira of Haman, that letters that showed the decree against the Yidden, after it was sealed, Nosne beat Haman, and it was given to the Haman's hand. Seinen Haman mit Kol bnei Chabarosse gegangen zufriedener So Haman and his whole group went very happily. Und dann begegnet Mordechai, and they met Mordechai. Mordechai demol gesehen Shleisha Teneke Shoyiboim Beis HaSefer. Then Mordechai saw 3 children coming from school. Is that in gelaufen? So Mordechai ran after them. Und Haman mit seinen Chaburos seinen am noch gegangen. And Haman and his group followed Mordechai. In order to hear what Mordechai is going to ask him. And the Medrash says, when Mordechai reached his children, so he asked one of them, give me your posik, which means tell me a posik that you learned in school today. Amalei said, the child told him, and he quoted this posik. This, as we see here in the Horus, it's a posik in Mishlei, Kapitel Gimel, and the posik means like this: do not fear sudden terror, nor the destruction of the wicked when it comes. Posach Hasheni V'Omer, the second one, started and said, I read today, which means I learned Chumash today also. And this is the posik that I finished in school today. And the posik was, Utzu Eitzav Esufar, Dabru Dover V'Liyokum, Ki Imono Keil. Which means they make a scheme, they contrive a scheme, but that will be foiled. They conspire a plot, but it will not materialize, for God is with us. And this is a posik in Yeshaya, Kapitel Ches. Posik Hashlishi V'Omer, the third one opened and said, another posik. V'azikna anihu, v'atzeva ani ezbel, ani asisi, v'ani eser, ani ezbel v'amalek. Which means, to your old age, I am with you. Another word for age, I am to your old age, to your many years, I will sustain you. I have made you, and I will carry you. I will sustain you, and I will save you. And this is a posik in Yeshaya, but not Kapitel Ches like the one before. It's a Kapitel Memvov, which is later. The Mordechai had gehört seine Antworten von the Psukim. When Mordechai heard the answers that they answered him by quoting these Psukim, Sochak, he was smiling, he was happy. Was very happy. So Haman said to him, what's this great joy that you're happy for what you heard from these children? Mordechai said, I'm happy because of the good news that they're giving me. That this was good news, that I shouldn't be afraid of the advice of the plot that you're plotting against us. Miyat caused Haman the Rosh, right away Haman got angry. And he said, the first ones I'm going to put my hands on will be these children. The Tambe Pashtas of was Mordechai gefreit hendig die Psukim for the Kinder. The simple reason why Mordechai was happy when he heard these Psukim from the children is weil hat in dem gesehen an Nevuah. And the some Forshim say he saw this like a small prophecy. As hat nit was made of for Gzeira Soman, he doesn't have to be afraid. There's nothing what to be afraid of from the decree of Haman, because all these Psukim tell you about not to be afraid, and Hashem takes care of us. When we think the Kamen became as Bishas, we find many times in Gemara the meaning from Pseik Psukoch that people would ask a child, say a posik. So we find in Gemara their posik was a Yenuki or Gezoga. The posik the child said is a ke'en nevuah. It's a miniature prophecy. Something similar to that. Milmaila from above. And that's why he was happy when he heard these psukim. So the Rebbe says this is aber l'chura nit masbik, but in our case, this is not enough to say that he was happy because he got a psura, he got a nevuah. This was like a prophecy. If it is the main point of the story here is to tell us that Mordechai got a prophecy from them, why are the details important? The details, as I already getroffen kommen from Beis HaSefer, that he found them coming from school. Und hast seinen gewähnt 3 Teenager zusammen gesagt, 3 Psukim, and there were 3 children, so 3 Psukim. But other details of the story, we understand why it's important to know. For instance, wie das er getroffen die Tenekes nicht gegangen sie suchen. The fact that he met up these children. He met these children, and it basically means he didn't go look for them. And also the other thing that more than one child said psukim with a contents of a good news. That we understand why the Medrash says it. That stresses more that he happened to come across these children and they said this to him. He didn't look for them. That shows that it was given to him. The fact that there were a few, not just one, also shows more. This idea that it stresses more how this is a nevuah has nothing to do with the fact that he met them coming from school. And the fact that he had three. May think if it wasn't one, it would be one, it'd be less. If it's more than one, you know there's something in it. But why is it important to have dafka three? So the question is, why is it important that he met these children coming from, to know that it was on the way from school? And the second thing, why is it important that it's three? Then the Rebbe continues, everything in Torah is exact. The says that the Seder and the Protia, the Shenis and the Psipos and the Beduyek and the Gates of Minyan. And even the specific expressions that we find in the story are also exact and are important for the Inyan. So that's the verstehen. So if everything is exact, let's understand. Number one, the Seder with the Tneikus gesagt the drei Psukim. Let's look at the order of way these children said the three Psukim. First one said Altiro, the second one said Utzu Eitzo, and the third one said Vatzikno. Is nit kifisidram is stehen in Tanach. It's not the order, the way they're written in Nevi'im and Ksuvim. The Psukim Utzu Eitzo, the Atzikno, the second Pasuk, and the third pasuk, stay in Sefer Yeshaya, as we said before, they're both in Sefer Yeshaya, was his Beseder Asfar and Far Mishlei. In the order of the way the Tanakh is written, is before Mishlei. Where stay the pasuk Altira, where the pasuk Altira is written. So the pasuk Altira is in Mishlei. The Pashtas is Seder Ali moved to the Nekes, Sefer Pashtas, the way they learn in the schools. They learned to be Seder Asvarim. They went in order of the Svarim. First they learned Torah, then they learned Nevi'im, then they learned Ksuvim. So the order that they said was not the order the way they learned. They said first from Yeshaya, first from Mishlei, and then from Yeshaya. Mishlei is later. It's not also, sometimes you say backwards. The last one first, and then you go up. This is not that Seder. Weil dem muss man sich gedarf sagen, dem späteren Posik in Yeshaya, wer sich nach Farut zu Eitze. Because this you could say, you started backwards. You started from Mishlei and then went to Yeshaya. Good. But in Yeshaya itself, he should have said, Va'at Zikno, which is in Yeshaya Kapitel Memvov, and then said Utzu Eitze, which is in Yeshaya Kapitel Ches. Then it would be going from the bottom to the top. But it's neither way. So what's the Seder of the Psukim? Number two, when Ashton Tindig werd erzählt in Medrash, concerning the first child, it says in the Medrash, gleich on kein Hakdome gesagt dem Posik. He just, when he said, give me a Posik, he told him the Posik Altiro. Hashem came on zweiten Tindig steht, but when he has the second child, it says, Posach Hashem Nevomer, the second one started and said, he gave like an introduction to the Posik. Today I learned today, this Posik is where I stopped today. I finished with this Posik. But he's saying, I learned other Psukim too. That's what he's saying. No, but then Posik is a geblieben stehen, but he finished with this Posik. He's not moving, that's not understood. See, then the rest that jenem Tag gelernt in Cheder Blaze and Posik Altiro nicht mehr. The first one didn't say it. Could we say that he only learned one Posik? The Posik Altiro didn't learn anything more. Pashas, he learned more too. The second one said, I learned more psukim, but this is the only one I finished. But the first one, it seems that this is the pasuk I learned today. Did you learn nothing more? A third question. Since, as we said before, the simple pshat is that Mordechai took this as a nevuah, as a prophecy. So why, when he told Haman why he's happy? Because I got good news. Or not something like, I got a good prophecy. Why did he? I got good news. Prophecy means telling the future. So he saw the future. From them, he understood the future, that everything is going to be fine. So he should have said, I know everything's going to be fine because I heard a nevuah. He didn't say that I heard good news. Why did they use the words good news? Another question. Another question we have. Yes, wer erzählt im Medrash, as it's told in the Medrash, is das Mann Ameir and now given bald noch, then was eine Gechasmen geworden, This story happened right after the seal, these letters about the decree was sealed. When Shane demoed, and right then, which is right in the beginning, because the Medrash says that they sealed this letter of decree, gave it to Haman, and Haman on the way home, getting this letter, met Mordechai. So it happened right then. And right away, Mordechai heard the children saying these psukim, and Mordechai was happy. When Shane demoed about Mordechai and Asimcha Deila for the Psura Teva, right then already Mordechai was happy because he heard good news. That he heard good news, that there's nothing to be afraid of Haman's plot. But if so, why after this, look in the Megillah, what happened afterwards? Mordechai got dressed with a sack and put on ashes, and he screamed, and what it means is he called Yidden to do tshuva, and the Riboy Aprotim was Mordechai getan, and ongezogt Esther, it's done all the things that he did himself, and what he told Esther to do, but it's in the Megillah. It says in the Megillah. Why would he have to do all that? He knew already a prophecy, a fact that it's going to be fine, so why did they do all this? From them alam is mashma, from all that it seems, as Mordechai and Posek Psukach from the Tenekes, nicht angenommen als a Mamish. That when Mordechai heard this psukim, it was not a prophecy that he got. That's why he still had to do different things to try to nullify the decree. Obviously, he wasn't sure. It wasn't a nevuah. But then the question is, so we have to understand. On the other hand, why was he happy? Why did he smile? Well, and he was very happy. From what? If he wasn't sure, this was not a nevuah telling him what is going to be the future, what is going to be the fact of the future. And that's why he had to daven still and bring him to tshuva, etc., etc. Why was he happy already? So the Rebbe said, Nekudas Abiyah, the point of the explanation is like, by introduction, bring an introduction first. We know from the Megillah that the decree was to destroy, annihilate all the Eden, young, old, children, women, etc. The Sibah of the Gzeira is this, the reason why there was such a decree. So we have two things. We have it, number one, we have the Tzelt in the Megillah. If you look in the Megillah, you see the technical reason what brought that. And then we find more than that, a second thing up in Madrash Chazal, but the Chazal tell us shot behind the scenes. And that is explain both of them. In the Megillah, when we look in the Megillah itself, that the Tzelt, that those Tzachon came from them, this all started because all the servants of the king bowed down to Haman. Mordechai did not bow down. Haman got angry at Mordechai, but he was embarrassed just to put his hand, which means take revenge of Mordechai alone, because they told him to which nation Mordechai belongs. And therefore, so that's why he wants to destroy all the Eden, because they are the nation of Mordechai. Now, what does that mean? So the Rebbe doesn't ask the question, but I'm just explaining what the Rebbe is going to explain here, because the question is, what does that mean? He was upset at Mordechai, for Mordechai not bowing down to him. So let him decide to do something to Mordechai. Because he heard to which nation Mordechai belongs, that's why he got upset at all the Eden. They didn't do anything. It's not like that. The says the Rebbe shot is like this. When Haman investigated, researched, why Mordechai doesn't bow down to him, so he found out it's not because he individually has a certain qualities, certain thing that he has, and that's why he's not buying to him. Zayin from the Rosh Sanhedrin, maybe because he was the top of Sanhedrin, when they're manik by Eden, he was the leader of the Eden. That's not the reason why Mordechai did it. Nor Mordechai. Yehudi. They told him that Mordechai belongs to a certain nation, and Mordechai is one of those. What did he mean with that? So they found out that in the far was Zayin Dekayid Leib not in the Meibishn. Because he's a Yid, he believes only in Hashem. When he's Kefer B'chol HaBetezor, and this denies all idol worship. He denies anything that is considers himself as a Metzias, as an important thing. This is what made Haman get very angry. That Mordechai doesn't recognize him, only recognizes Deibishter and nothing else. And since he realized, or he found out, that Mordechai doesn't bow down, which means doesn't recognize anything but Hashem, is the far Valahu Yehud, is because he's a Yid. It's not a personal thing. It's because he is a Yid. So he was embarrassed to only, I didn't want, only bother Mordechai, only do something to Mordechai. Since the reason why Mordechai doesn't bow down is the Nekudas Hayadas. It's not something that Mordechai has. It's because he has this Nekudas Hayados, we call it in Yiddish, the Pintele Yid. He has this point of Yiddishkeit that every Yid has. Whether he's young or old, children or women. When he found that out, that this comes because he's part of a nation that they all feel that way, so it comes out as nicht nur Mordechai, not only Mordechai, nor the ganze Mordechai erkennt in sein Metzias. The whole nation of Mordechai doesn't recognize his being. Und abschieten nicht zu bucken sich ihm. So the whole nation will not bow to him. That's why he looked for a way destroy all the Eden. That's what it says that's how we learn Pshat in the Megillah, that he was upset that Mordechai not recognizing him, and he found out that Mordechai is part of a group that none of them recognize. So what will he help by killing Mordechai? So the only way to get rid of this problem that he had is to kill all the Eden. This is the way it's a Pshat. The Rebbe said there's also the way this decree came about through Midrash Chazal, the way it says in Chazal. Wie kommt es aber als Homer that he can't bring in as a Gzeira? But how is it possible that Homer should be able to do such a Gzeira? We understand why he wanted the Gzeira, but he was able to do it. He got it. He did it. How was it possible? So the Chazal, the Chachomim explained to us, Megillah, that the spiritual reason why he was able to do it, because the Eden bowed down to an image in Avodah Zarah earlier in the time of Nebuchadnezzar. He bowed down to Avodah Zarah. Now, the truth is, in Gemara, we find another reason, because they ate from the meal, the Suda by Achashverosh, but it seems, and the second reason, but the first reason is he bowed down to Avodah Zarah, and even though it seems from the Gemara that it changed, but really the Gemara, even where it comes out, that this reason that it was all because they bowed down to the Tzelem, which means to the Avodah Zarah, is the main reason why the decree was able to happen. Which means, since by Eden, there was such an act, such a movement. I'll skip the parenthesis for a second. Was his Heper from the Nekudas Hayadus? They had a point, they did something which is against this Nekudas Hayadus that we said before, which is that you only believe in the Eibush and nothing else. Which affects the essential connection after the Eibishter. So that brought the decree of destruction. But the ganze Metzias Kiyum von Eden is sehr verbunden mit dem Eibishter, because the whole ability, the whole concept of existence by Eden is connected to the Eibishter. And since they did something which showed them that they disconnected themselves from the Eibishter, that they bowed down to this Avodah Zarah, the Mele, this was brought about that it was possible for Haman to make the decree. Now, in the parenthesis, the Rebbe said, even though it says in the Gemara, Afilu and Blaze upon him, they only did it superficially, didn't really mean it. Or another place it says Rasha Belay Leib Leib Klau, that it was Miyira, they were afraid, but they didn't, in their heart, they didn't mean it. But nevertheless, they did it. And if they did it, that shows that there is some disconnection between their etzem connection to the Eibishter in the etzem and the Neshama, and that was not there. And because that was not there, therefore, it was possible for Haman to do this. That comes out according to Chazal. That's what Mordechai was worried about. So that's why he got dressed with a cloth sack and ashes. He screamed, which called Yidden to tshuva. Why? But Mordechai it says in Posek, Mordechai knew everything does one. And the way it says in Medrashim, that's not only he knew physically about the decree, he knew the deeper inyonim in this inyan. He knew everything. He knew the reason, the cause that brought the Gzeira, and that is, as we said before, because the Yidden bowed down to the Avodah Zarah. He's given Daigose, so Mordechai was worried. Maybe what they did there was really recognition of Avodah Zarah, recognizing Avodah Zarah. And even though, as we said before, they bowed down only superficially, just to show that they're doing it. Nor it's just outside superficially. So even though they didn't mean it, but the fact they were able to do it even outwardly shows that this Nekudas Ayadis and the Munah that they have in the Eibishter is not Begilui, is not revealed. When Dosval Givem Bazei Begilui, when this would have been Begilui, what was gepaled, it would have caused that they couldn't bow down even upon him. And he quotes a lotion from Tanya. Sheyuchlu Yigu Afilu Bilavushov, they will not be able to touch, even in their garments, meaning machshava dibur ma'aseh, garments of the nefesh of the person, which is thought, speech, and action. Shelamudas Hashem echad, believe in Hashem. They would never, even superficially, be able to do something like this. Bazei, well, given they would have been in a level, like it says in Tanya, limse nafshe, to give your life up, afilu shaleilase rakese ma'aseh lavad, even just to do an act, neged emunas Hashem echad, against the emunah of one God. For instance, the bow down to be the Zora, even if you don't believe it, that underlines the word klal believe. If the emunah is complete, strong, you couldn't even do it superficially. Because the Eid has this will and this desire to be connected to the Eibishter. So the Eid, the Neshama, is afraid naturally. It's afraid naturally from touching even an edge of the impurity of Avodah Zarah Chas v'Sholom. Shoneges Amunas Hashem Echad, which is against the Amunah of Hashem, one Hashem. Afilu bilvushim achetzeinim, even in the superficial outward levushim, outward garments, meaning of the person's personality. Shem dibur ma'aseh, which is speaking or doing b'li amunah b'leif klal, even without believing. So the fact that Mordechai saw that they had bowed down to Avodah Zarah, he was worried, even though it's superficial. He knew probably that superficial didn't mean it, but that does show that their emunah is not the gilui. So Mordechai knew what's the way to nullify this decree? Is to awaken within the Yidden this nekudas hayada, this point of Yiddishkeit of the neshama, that it should come out begil in a revealed way. This quality that the nation of Mordechai has, as we said before, was as that they shouldn't bow down. That it's not only Mordechai, but Mordechai, all the Yidden have that quality. So Mordechai wanted to work on. So it should penetrate throughout all these garments of the nefesh, machshava, dibur, ma'aseh, from thought, speech, and action. These to Mesiras Nefesh al Kiddush Hashem b'Pil Mamish, to go Mesiras Nefesh, give up your life for Kiddush Hashem. That's what Mordechai wanted to do. So Mordechai was worried maybe it's not Begili, and that's a problem, and that was the cause of the Gzeir of Haman. So what he had to do is to reawaken within the Eden, to be Megala, revealed within the Eden, this amunah that they have, that it should penetrate into the whole person. They shouldn't even do it just by saying or by doing something which they didn't mean. And they should go Mesiras Nefesh. Shas Mordechai heard from the Tanekes. So therefore, that's the pshat in the Medrash. When the Mordechai heard from these children, that they came from school. So he heard from them the psukim and he heard them learning, that they learned these psukim which express the belief and the trust in Hashem, but they gewusst as Yidden wel beisten dem Nisoyen. So already he knew the Yidden are going to pass the test. And we'll go Mesiras Nefesh. We saw the children learning like that, they're being raised that way. So he knew that they are being raised and the Yidden will be able to withstand, pass the test. Therefore, Sochak, he was smiling, while the Sameach Simcha Gdela was very, very happy. Because there's nothing to be afraid on the plot that he was planning against the Yidden. When there's the children are saying this, that Rebbe will explain it in detail. The psukim. When the Shasara, they heard the psura stavis, and when he heard his good psura, so it wasn't a nevuah that he heard. The nevuah he heard is a fact. He heard that everything's be fine. He didn't hear that. He saw good news that the Yidden are on the right track. So when he saw this psuras, so now he saw Yidden are on the right track. So now you got to start working. That means the Yidden are working on expressing their amunah. So now you got to work on it. Therefore, what did he do? Is the Noch Vayikra Mordechai the God, he tore his clothes, Vayilbash Sak Va'efer. He got dressed with sak and efer. He went through the city. And he screamed and cried. And all the countries that the news of the decree came. It was the mourning for the Eden. They were fasting and crying. and the eulogizing, all that was in order to actually bring out Megillah in a revealed way, the Nekuda Sayadus, that Nekuda Videshkeit and the greatkeit of Mesiras Nefesh would fail to be ready for Mesiras Nefesh. So right away, the question was, if he heard this, why did he make this whole fuss? He didn't hear what's going to happen. He heard that, yes, we are able to do this. Yidden are ready for this. So now let's do it. So let's work on it. So all the Yidden started working on doing tshuva and awakening within them this Nekuda Sayadus. But what made him see that the Yidden are in that level when he heard the three children? And he heard the three psukim. And the three psukim show different levels, as the Rebbe will explain, in this amunah that we're talking about, that Yid has Neibishter, and the children said it. Now let's explain the difference in what the meaning of the three psukim is. By the way, as we know, these are the three psukim we say after davening. After Olena, every davening, we say that these three psukim comes from this medrash. Let's look into analyze the three psukim, see what is the difference in the meaning of each pasuk. The pasuk which says, "Don't be afraid of a sudden terror, a sudden fear, and from the destruction that the Rishoyim want to do when it'll come." That's talking about when you're really afraid of something that's a open problem. And we're saying, don't be afraid. There's no explanation here why. Just don't be afraid. There's a tzara coming. Don't be afraid. That's the first pasuk. Then the second pasuk, in a pasuk, they're looking for plots, and it'll be destroyed. They speak things that won't happen. That's not talking about an actual problem that happens. It's utzu eitza. They're just plotting something. The first one says kisove. There's pacha that because the Rishoyim are doing something that's coming. The second one is not talking when it's coming. That's talking when they're only planning it. It's a eitza, utzu eitza, dabru dover, they're talking of bringing that tzorah. We're not saying don't worry about it. The pasuk gives a reason why it'll be nullified. Because the Eibush is with us. That's the second pasuk. In the dritten pasuk, the third pasuk, which says that Eibush is with us when we're on Seibu, on the Esbel, on the Sisiv, on the Yesib, on the Esbel, Amalat, which, as we said before, means that even when you get old, the Eibush says, "I carry you, and I'm going to protect you," etc., etc. That's Chiber Heipvit wegen Tzorah. Is Bechal not talking, generally not talking about any problem in Tzorah. Need Begila, need Bachon, and not that there is actual Tzorah like the first pasuk, and not even that there's a preparation. They're doing the preparation for a Tzorah. No wegen Zikna Sev. It's talking about age, old age. It's a problem, old age, but it's not so. It's a Tzorah that's coming. That's changes in the person. That's natural, changing in their bria, in the creation of the Eibush, the Eibush created like that. When it doesn't say I am there with you and I take it and I'm going to help you. I made you and I'm going to carry it. So that's a further level, not when there's a tzorah, but there are limitations and problems that come from nature, not the problem that the goyim or the rishoyim are planning against us, whether it's there already or it's coming. So the first one is when about the tzorah that's there without even a reason. Don't be afraid. The second one is when they're planning. Don't be afraid, and the reason is because Imona Kel Hashem is with us. And the third one says, don't worry about the natural things that happen to a person when he gets older. In Teichen Hoinyonim Beruchni is weisen the drei psukim. So if you look in the spiritual Teichen meaning of these psukim, so these three psukim show a drei truas nuas madregis in the making from the munim bitochen the meibischen. There are three levels, three movements, three ideas in how you have a munah and bitochen, you believe, and you trust the Eibishter. Was bringt is the Mesiras Nefesh from Ayidin for the Eibishter. And these three ways in what brings you to the Mesiras Nefesh to have, Ayid should have Mesiras Nefesh for the Eibishter. That's what they said before. When Mordechai heard these three, and he heard these three levels, how it's going, so that made him understand that the Yidden are in the level which they're going in the right direction. That's why he was happy. And the Rebbe explains, what does it show? The first one says, don't be afraid of something that's there coming, of a bad thing from the Rishonim, etc. Means like this: because you have a munah, you trust, and you have the belief, and you have trust in the Eibishter. It's choshes al piteva b'falma mention ameda b'plutznika onka from pachad d'sheis shoyim. Even though naturally, when the person gets a sudden thing, hearing of a sudden sorrow that's coming, So naturally, he will be afraid. That's normal. He's over by Mamin, by Yid, and someone who believes by a Yid, you told him made it. The fear is not there. Und der darf nicht haben können das beide betam of them. And there's no reason why you shouldn't be afraid. Why? Because betive is ein Gefühl. Because a person feels naturally, a Yid feels naturally that when a problem comes, he's not be afraid of it. Like the Gemara says, whatever the Eibush does is for good. So Yid right away has a feeling, it's sort of coming, I'm not going to be afraid. Naturally, a person should be afraid. Suddenly something comes to your way, a bad thing comes your way. A Yid is not afraid. That's one level of Amunah. A starkere Reife von Amunah, a stronger level and way of Amunah, as is the second pasuk. As Utzu Eitze v'Sufur, they plan, they plot, the Sufur, it'll be destroyed. Dabra Dover, they talk all kinds of things, obviously bad things. V'Liyakim, it's not going to happen, which is more than we said before. Nid blaze hoter nid kamere. Not only is not afraid, thereby imis bavadois as Tufur Liyakim. The Rayid is sure it's not going to happen. It'll be destroyed and not going to happen. Und die Asbore und Tam Sichli, and there is a reason, since he's a little older, a higher level, so there's a reason, a logical reason. By him is Babadois, Ki Imona killed. The Pasuk said, because Hashem is with us. So he knows that. L'mayla mezeh, the higher level is the opleg, is that we understand, the opleg means that the feeling, the understanding, as vazikna and Yehuva Tseva and Yezbel, no matter how you get old, the Eibush says, I'll take care. Which means, till now we're talking about a problem. So first is that don't be afraid of a problem. It's there, you're not afraid. Second thing is not only that, you're sure it's not going to happen, etc. Now it says not only by a problem. The third pasuk, as we said before, talks about natural things that happen. Was that even the rules, the things of nature that Hashem put into the creation, has no control over a Yid, and the veteran doesn't get excited about it, doesn't care. On the roof, here you need an extra. Before we said the reason is Imonukil. The second level is because Hashem is with us. But here, need not as a monukil, for to believe this, not only because Hashem is with us, nor as Aniya Sisi. You believe the Eibishter made it. I'm going to take care of the Eibishter because he made it, not only because Hashem is with us, so he'll protect us. So it won't come. It's more than that. It's this Eibishter made this the whole thing is from the Eibishter. So certainly nothing bad is going to be. So this is three levels of having a munah and bitochen, one higher than the other. These are also three levels in how you educate the children in school. Because here they were coming from school. And this was what they were taught in school. So this was the education they got in school. And these are three levels. By the Mershtenkind, by the first child, which represents a child in the beginning of his education. First of all, tell me your pasuk. It's one pasuk. We don't know what you learn more. But the first level is just one nekuda. He says, give me a pasuk. Mehr von dem hat noch nie gelernt. Could be that he didn't learn anything more. The question was, first one didn't say, I learned, and this is the last pasuk. No, this is my pasuk. Because he's so young, he's so small, so that there's not much you can learn from him. You just have to put into him this nekuda, the pasuk. He didn't learn anymore. And before he even understands, which is able to understand, Darba Yim Zayin B'Pashta has to be very clear. Obgepaskend, as Altira B'Pachat Pisa M'Sheis Hashem Kisover. Do not be afraid of any fear that's going to come and of the destruction of the Rishonim that'll come. That's the first thing you say. And Taka, only one pasuk is Nageya. And this is something that he gets when he's still young. And there's no reason. The pasuk doesn't say because Hashem is with it. Doesn't even, you don't have to think, doesn't understand the whole thing. He just knows this is how he's supposed to, how you feel. That's how they're teaching the child. When the Tinnik werd älter und mehr gelernt, when the child gets older and you learn more already. That's why the second child already gave an introduction. He said, Ani korisi hayem. I learned today. In other words, I'm already in the level of learning. Ubezeh pasuk omadati. And this is the pasuk where I stopped. I read it myself. Gelernt, he learned it. He has his own understanding. Lernten mit him a tiefer opleg. Now you learn with him a deeper feeling, a deeper understanding. A hechere darge in Amunah Bitochen. A higher level in Amunah Bitochen. Mit Gewisskeit. That you're sure that what? That they plot, they say things, it's not going to happen. So that's already a higher level. Not only just don't be afraid. We know it's not going to happen. And also we already give him an explanation. We say ki imanu kel, we give him because they wish with it. The first one we didn't say that because you don't have to explain him anything. This Ayid knows that he's nothing can happen to him. Und dem dritten Suktinig, and the third category of a child, was is noch mehr ausgewachsen in Seichel und Das. Now he grew already more in Seichel und Das. Him lernt man mit Pflanzteine dem Oplegt, so him you teach and you put into him this idea as I eat wird nicht nispol afile from the agbolos v'chuki ateva, that the eat doesn't get nispol, which doesn't care, doesn't get excited, even from the limitations and the laws of nature. But the Rabbi Shabbat that the Rabbi made with the ganze rasbore was as the posuk says. Why? As we said before, because on Yosisi, on Yesa, it's all Rabbi did this. That's already a higher madrege, and that's the third level you will have to teach a child when he gets older. So B'shas Mordechai had gehört the psukim von the kinder. So now the Rebbe is going to explain. The main thing is he asked the kasha, why is it important to know that he heard it from them when they were leaving school? This is what the Rebbe is going to say. These three represent the certain levels of amunah which you saw in the children as they're being taught, educated in school. But now, when they were leaving school, that's when they told him this psukim. So now, when he heard that they were saying this psukim, when they were boyim bebeis they were going from this, leaving the school, that means he saw that their education is so as neat nor zayin the im beis sefer the vekman zeim len zeim unim mesiras nefesh. But not only when they're in school. So in school, you teach him emunah, you teach him to go mesiras nefesh, altir, etc. And then also the second level. Not only do you have the emunah bitochen like the first level, but they also understand it with the seichel and the feeling. They're taking it when they're leaving the school. When they're coming home. That's the main thing that Mordechai saw. Mordechai saw it's not only what you teach. You're teaching them in such a way that when they take it along with them when they leave school and coming home. So then, that's when he smiled and he said, he was very happy. When he heard these psukim from the children, he saw, by Yidden is ganz the Nekudas Hayadis Balid, by all Yidden, this Nekudas Hayadis said before is complete. The mail is Afila Dibas Bazeis is noch nit begil, and therefore, even by those it's not revealed, as we said before. So these children who have it when they're leaving school, that means they're taking it home. This will awaken in the elders, in the adults. They will reveal it when they come home. They will reveal it in the adults. That's why Mordechai said, I heard good news. They told me good news. They told Haman that they gave me good news that I shouldn't be afraid from the plot that you're making. Which means the diburim atzma from the tenekes, the words of the children themselves, zayin and dipsuras tevis shebesruni, are the psuras tevis. It's not like you learn Poshup Shah. They said it, so that's what's the psura? The psura is that in the future we will be saved, so we could be calm. No, it's what they said. That's the best psura. As by Yidden is ganz und wird sein ganz in Kudas Hayatis HaMesiras Nefesh. But them saying, these psukim themselves said that they're ready to go on Mesiras. They have their moon in all the levels. This, the whole reason the Gzeira came, Al Pi Chazal, Al Pi Chassidus, because they begilui bowed down to Avodah Zarah. So this shows that this is even begilui, they'll get rid of it. Shalei Fachat, B'Meila, we have nothing to afraid, because the whole reason it came is because of bowing down to Avodah Zarah. That means begilui, there's missing the Kutas Yadus, but now that they're saying these psukim, this is not the children, and that's what they're bringing home from school, then we know that there's nothing to be afraid of. That's why Haman was got angry right away. And he said, I'm not going to, I'm going to put my hands first on these children. In these children, he saw the continuity of Yiddishkeit. He saw their Siba, more than that, he saw the reason for them. Now we saw the reason why Mordechai doesn't bow down, and none of the Eden will bow down, not for him and not for anybody. He saw because what they instill in the children is this connection and amunah and bitochen to Havon Hashem. In the Maimer Chazal Yedua, this adds another additional word in a famous Maimer Chazal. It's Kimu v'Kibel Hudim. The Pasuk in Megillah says, Kimu v'Kibel Hudim, the Eden fulfilled and accepted. Double expression. So the Gemara says it means that they did now what they accepted before. That means that before by Matan Torah, the Yidden accepted upon themselves. They said, Nasev and Ishma, we will do and we will hear, we will understand. But now, by Purim, they actually fulfilled that. Meaning, so the Gemara says, as by Purim is bottle given that from what they said by Matan Torah, there's a shtickle excuse. Matan Torah says they forced them to say Nasav and Nishma. He put the mountain on top and he said, if you don't say it, if you don't accept it, I'll bury you here. So a Yid throughout all the years could have an excuse, I don't keep Torah because we really never meant to accept it. You forced us. But now, because till then was a Midah Rabbi L'Raisa means there's like a Midah means an excuse for not keeping the Torah. But Purim, that was nullified, that was bottled. Because now on this time they accepted that upon themselves willingly. This is in the Gemara. Chassidus explains another pasuk in the Megillah, which teaches us the same idea. The pasuk says, the Yidden accepted what they started doing. So Chassidus says, what does it mean? The Matan Torah was just the beginning. All these the Mesiras Nefesh from Yidden of Kabbalah Satira, because then by Matan Torah, the fact that Yidden gave up their life for accepting the Torah. Those was Ekdim Nasel and Nishma, when they said Nasel before Nishma, they were ready to do anything to accept the Torah. Yikurim Mitzad Lamayla came from above. Kof Alei Marke Gigis, Hashem put the mountain over them, came from above. And even the way Chassidus explains, it wasn't he forced them. He brought upon them a love to Hashem that they said Nasel and Nishma. That's what it means. But even that, it came from Hashem. But Purim is given the Kibbul Yehudim. By Purim, the Yidden accepted on their own a Kabbalah Gemura, complete exception. Through the Mesiras Nefesh from Kol Yisrael, Me'asman Yidden on their own went to Mesiras Nefesh. The Leib is done given the Gemara Shleimus Kabbalah Satera. That's why by Purim time, that was the end, the completion of Matan Torah. Because the Yidden went on Mesiras Nefesh, as the Alter Rebbe says in Torah, that the whole year since the Gzeira, the decree happened till Purim, which is many months later, the Yidden, had they given up the Yiddishkeit, they would have been spared. So they went on Mesiras Nefesh a whole year. And that Mesiras Nefesh came from them. So now we see a connection, based on what we said before, we see a connection to this. What we're saying now is that this is similar to Matan Torah. It's the end of Matan Torah. Based on what we said before, we see that even more. This is an end of Matan Torah, continuation of Matan Torah. So just like Matan Torah, which was the beginning, is Dafke b'schus arvus from the kinder. We all know from the famous Medrash, David gave the Torah to the Yidden because he wanted a guarantor. So who was the guarantor? The children. But the children were guaranteed. But down the Rebbe should give him the Torah to Yidden. So because of that, he gave the Torah to Yidden. Same thing happened at the time when it was the completion of Matan Torah in time of Achashverosh. I think the Kabbalah Gemura, the real Kabbalah that they accepted Torah and were ready on Mesiras Nefesh by time of Purim. Again, it happened through the children, the guarantee of the children. Through the children who learned in school that we mentioned before. And there are 22,000 children that he gathered and he taught them Torah. He learned from them. He implanted in them the Mesiras Nefesh begilui and bepeil the Chazal etzel and Baruch the Chazal sel. So we see. So based on the explanation we said before, what this meant here with the children, that this showed that they're ready to go on Mesiras Nefesh and have the Emunah, and that brought this whole thing of Purim fits to this union that Purim and Matan Torah have something in common. The roof from Purim and Matan Torah is Kanal Bashanin in them. And then another thing, just like the difference between Purim and Matan Torah was by Matan Torah is the Mesiras Nefesh for needing Givem Bike Beke. What was the Mesiras Nefesh and Matan Torah? They said Nasser and Nishma. Wasn't Mesiras Nefesh. No one was telling him, if not, we'll kill you. Gave the life. But it's Bekeah. They expressed that they have this feeling of giving themselves up to Hashem till Mesiras Nefesh. But there's only Bekeah, potentially. Mitzazeh and Neshama, because they have a Neshama. Mitzad Lamaylo, as we said, it came from Lamaylo, this feeling. So there it was Mesiras Nefesh, Bekeah. Und bei Purim, seien sie gestanden, hat nur von Mesiras Nefesh, Bepeil. By Purim, the whole year of Purim, they were Mesiras Nefesh, Bepeil. Eich Mitzad Gufam, it also came from their body, physically. Und Mitzad Armata, came from them. So that's when the Geibachal, the connection of Purim and Matan Torah, the same thing, but with a difference. Matan Torah was bekeach, and this is bepeil. The same thing, the other point, that just like by Matan Torah, the children were responsible for the Eibush to give in the Torah. Purim also because of the children. Same thing. But Purim it does give a need blaze bekeach. When Sadamira is by the Matan Torah, it says the Eibush told the Yidden who's going to guarantee. So they finally said our children will guarantee. The children didn't say it. It's the parents who said it. And it was not Mesiras Nefesh at that time. So that time it was the children who guaranteed, but it was only Bekayach, potentially. And because the father said it. In this case, it wasn't like that. Here the children themselves said the Knaz we said before. And even more, they caused this to happen even by their parents. When Saddam is the Afghan will give them the keep in the Kabbalah. That's why then it was the real complete exception, because it came from even their body and from within them. And this came with the children. From here we have a lesson for all generations. We frat in the Dora Dikas Mashiach, especially in the generation before Mashiach, when he's noch Abdi Tachashverish, we're still in Golas. It's an expression. We're still Avodim, we're still service Tachashverish. The Gemara uses that to say that we're still in Golas. Even after the Nes happened by Purim, we were still servants, slaves of Achashverish. That means still in Golas. So now we are still in Golas before Mashiach. If you want to know the situation and the future of the Jewish nation, you have to see what's doing with the children. First of all, what's going with the children, and not what's doing in the children in school. About that also, but mainly to see what are the children bring home? What are they when they're coming home? What are they bringing home into the atmosphere, the environment of the home? In simple words, it means like this. The education of the children had to be, as we said before, from the earliest childish years. Before they're able to understand some logic. You have to carve within them and put within them this uplik is understanding that they shouldn't be afraid of anybody, nor blaze for the Meibischen alone, only for Hashem. With their father from Baal Shem Tov, Rabbi Eliezer, at ongesog the Baal Shem Tov, and there is Altgeven 5 Fjord. The Rote Friedrich Rebbe writes that Baal Shem Tov, when he was 5 years old, his father passed away. And before he passed away, he told his son, the Baal Shem Tov, the little boy, so as Farkenem und Farkezach of der Welt mit Meirom, you should not be afraid for anyone and anyone in the world. Man need forgot only for Hashem himself. So the same thing, this is from, and he was a little child. You have to instill in the children this feeling. And when they get older and are able to understand, then you learn the second Indian to verstehen, that you now start understanding. You should know they're going to plot on us. They're plotting, and we know for sure it's not going to happen because Hashem is with us. That's an explanation. When they're not, and then the third way, as we explained in detail. And in order for that should be instilled in them, internalized in the children as you're supposed to. As Alven Psukoch, I told them, Psekli Psukoch, give me your posik. That means this is a posik that is there, what they are. When is nit maspik learnable is the psukim Torah shebiksav. It's not enough if you just learn the psukim in the written Torah. Remember, Dav they learn in the masbazan in the Kudas Alkaponim from the Biurim in Torah Shebapeh Bechlal. You have to at least in short points of what this inyonim are in Torah Shebapeh and the oral Torah. When the Torah Chassidus befrat, especially the way it's explained in Chassidus. B'shas jüdische Kinder nehmen mit und leben mit der Teichen von den Psukim, eich aruis gehen dik in Druisen von Beis HaSefer, and when the children take along and live with this, of what these Psukim bring out, when they go out from school, und bringen es mit sich in seine Heise, bring to their homes, is geschäbe, das ist gewähnt bei Yom HaMeheim, just like it was in those days, as we explained the time of Mordechai, but the Zayn Bez Man Azer will be now too. Ados wird versichern den Kiem und Hemsche von Teire bei Yisrael. This will guarantee the existence and the continuity of Teire by Yidden, as wird nicht sein, was zu mehr haben, verkennt und overbeil, and there will be nothing to be afraid of, nothing in the world. There's another passage that says, from the mouth of babes and nursing children, that's when you establish the strength, which is Teire. When the children learn Teire, lahashbis evim isnakim, to destroy all enemies. And these are the psukim that the Rebbe spoke about before the Kippur War for months. And that this is, so that's what the Rebbe says, nowadays too, if you will teach them this, and that's how you'll raise your children, that when they come home, they bring it, and the whole Yidden will be like that, then you're sure that you're nothing to be afraid of. This bracha that David says, this promise that it says that in the future, David will return the hearts of the parents al bonim. So one pshat is al bonim means together with the children. But then there's another pshat al yedei bonim. Through the children will be the ones that make their fathers, their parents, return back to Hashem. When is this going to happen? When this is part of this pasuk. Hashem says, "I'm sending you Eliyahu Novi." And as Rashi teaches means Yema labonim derechave berotzen, that Eliyahu is going to tell the children in the form of love and will. He'll say to them, "Go speak to your parents. To hold on to the ways of Hashem." The great, awesome day of Hashem will come, and that is the coming of Mashiach, and it fits to what we spoke about Purim, because Mismach Gula Lagula, one Gula is connected to the other Gula. The Gemara says that the Purim before Pesach, but the same thing is used benegay the Gula of Purim to the Gula of Yema Gula Amitis Vashlemo, the day of the redemption, the true and complete redemption through Mashiach Tzidkenu, the Korid Mamish.